doing today? Today we are going to go ahead and get started talking about Zulema. We don't really know much about her. Very few things we are sure of is that she did in fact marry Alex Cox on November 29th of 2019 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And only 13 days later, she became a widow when he suddenly passed away. There's not been a lot of information shared about her. Now, before I go ahead and break down the things that I've discovered about her through all of my research, I thought it would be a good idea for us to listen to the podcast that she did appear on around 3 years ago. Listening to her speak is going to give us some insight into her thought process and get us introduced to her mindset. It's not nearly as cringy as the Time to Warrior Up podcast that we listened to last week, but you might still find yourself needing to take it in small doses because it is about an hour long. Now, before we dive in, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. It's great to meet you. I definitely invite each of you to subscribe to this channel and follow the case along with me. I'm very proud of the community that's being built here at this channel, and I would love for you to be part of it. Also, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up if you support finding JJ and Tylee. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. The world is full of communities that have different belief systems than the majority of the population. I mean, we have flat earthers, we have anti-vaxxers, we have people who think Elvis is still alive, and we have people who think that Jay-Z and Beyonce are running the Illuminati. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. At the end of the day, everybody's entitled to believe whatever the hell they want. I mean, if you want to believe the sky is yellow, by all means, help yourselfie. I'm not here to deter anybody from believing what they think is right for them. By sharing information about the people surrounding Chad and Lori, my intention is not to disrupt their belief system or destroy their followers' faith. Most people in these surrounding communities are just doing their own thing. They're not out destroying relationships or harming people in their path. I mean, and then we have people like Chad and Lori and a few select others who seem to stop at nothing to destroy anyone or anything that gets in the way of their missions. I mean, to a lot of people, including myself, some of these beliefs that surround them are out there. I'm not going to lie. I know I think it, and I know many of you think it, but at the end of the day, I really don't care what they believe. You know, if Lori wants to believe that an x-ray machine is going to pick up on the fact that she's a translated being, by all means, go on about your bad self, girl. If people want to list their occupation as a soul realignment practitioner, hey, great. Out of curiosity, I'd love to know what that pays. You know what's not okay is taking the lives of people who stand in the way of these made-up godlike missions. It's not okay to directly be related to the activities of Chad and Lori and maintain your silence and not cooperate with the investigation surrounding the multiple deaths and the disappearance of Tylee and JJ. That is not okay. It's very clear that this cult-like belief system is what took the life of Charles Vallow, Tammy Daybell, and even Alex Cox. It's also very clear that JJ and Tylee disappeared because they somehow stood in the way of Lori's mission to gather and lead 144,000 people till the end of the world on July 22nd of 2020. With court being postponed, we now have time in this channel to really take a deep dive into all of these characters surrounding Chad and Lori. Now again, not everyone involved in these same communities or groups as they are dangerous people and up to no good. And I want to be clear, I do not believe that everybody involved in any sort of activity that Chad and Lori are associated with are guilty of anything nefarious. Many people's names pop up in all sorts of situations. And like the lady who Zulema has recorded this podcast with, through all of my research, I have found nothing that says this woman is involved in anything crazy. She's hosted this podcast, her podcast series, for a very long time, and Zulema happened to be a guest. And as you're about to hear, she really is kind of fangirling over Zulema, which is fine. That's her right to do so. Many people are just regular Joes living their day-to-day life, doing their own thing. I mean, and then we have others like Christopher Parrott and Jason Mao, for example, whose names are constantly popping up, are clearly associated very closely with Chad and Lori. Now, there's a long list of people that are very closely associated with them. Those are just two examples. Now, there's a long list of people associated with them. I just listed Jason and Christopher as an example. And don't worry, we're going to deep dive into all of these people because they are some interesting individuals. Now, regardless of our personal feelings about these people surrounding Chad and Lori, you know, people like Christopher Parrott, Jason Mao, Hector Sosa Jr., I mean, the list goes on and on. It is not okay to go into their communities and be disrespectful and be hateful. Just like we don't like to see trolls in our chats and our communities being disrespectful and causing a scene, there's no need for you or I or anyone else to go to their communities and do the same thing. I do not want to see people hunting down this woman who had Zulema on her podcast as a guest and being harassed. That's unnecessary. If you want to smack talk all these people, by all means, do it in the comment section down below. Shoot me an email. Do it during one of our live chats. There is no need to go and harass people. Absolutely none. So that's just my little PSA. I'm confident that the community on this channel would never participate in stuff like that, but it's something I just feel obliged to say because I just don't want to see anybody harassed. Period. If you are having trouble finding this audio online, go ahead, shoot me an email and I will send you the audio file. I had mentioned this in the description box when I posted the first episode of Time to Warrior Up. I have no problem sharing this information. I realize all of these things are hard to come by. I want as many people as possible to rain on these people's parade and have a better understanding of what might be going on with their belief system. So don't hesitate to shoot me an email or hit me up on social media. If you visit the About page of my channel, all my contact information is listed there, and it's also always listed in the description box below. Wherever this video finds you, I hope you're having the best day ever. Stay safe, make good choices out there, and we'll talk soon, guys. Enjoy the podcast. Bye.
Today I have a special guest named Zulema Pastenes, and she is and has been my mentor for a number of years, as well as a dear friend and coach, and she has been instrumental in changing a lot of the fundamental beliefs that I've had in my experience, all through a deep wisdom and knowing and connection with Source.
Just a heads up, there are portions of this podcast that the audio absolutely sucks. It breaks up. It sounds scratchy and crazy. Not much I could have done about that, but I definitely want you guys to listen up because Zulema does talk a lot about herself and her perceived powers. So enjoy.
Wellness and relationship coach, and she helps those of you become the person that you were always meant to be. So thank you, Zulema. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is so amazing. I'm excited.
Are you?
As you could tell.
That's good. Yeah. And you and I have worked together, and we've done classes and workshops and things like that together. So, you know, I love your style of working with people and how connecting you are and how loving you are and gentle. And it really, really transforms people. And so I'm just so excited to have you here. I'm going to go right into interview questions, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of some really good stuff about turning our trials to grace and helping ourselves to even see the darkest times as being those that have light around the edges, and and to then begin to focus on those good feeling things. So, all right, awesome. So first off, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do, to serve the world? And have you always known it?
So I grew up always knowing that there was something I was supposed to do, but I didn't know what it was. And at times I used to look at people and they used to say, well, what do you want to be? And, you know, they would have an answer immediately. They would say, I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher. I want to be this. And I used to look at them and go, how do you know that? How did you get to that realization that you wanted to know that? Because I didn't. I knew there was something out there for me, but I just never knew what it was. And it wasn't until my life was transformed and changed so much, so dramatically, that I knew that there were other people out in the world that needed to have the changes that I went through. I knew that there were other people in the trenches. There were other people that were underwater, drowning, and that needed help. And I knew since that I had been in the trenches and I had gone out of the trenches that I could actually pull people out. And that's when I realized that I want to do this. I want to do it because I want to help others that felt exactly the same way that I did, and those ones that maybe perhaps even felt a little different than I did, but the pain is pain and it's always the same. So I just wanted to help out. And that's when I realized that no matter whether I do this, 100 hours a week, or I do 2 hours a week, or I do 20 hours a week, it didn't matter. I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I just did. Yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah. And you've had trials of your own, and if you feel drawn to want to talk about that when we get into that portion of the show, and that feels good to you, please share, because there are people that share your story, and I know that I have as well. So what is your burning desire? What is that thing that just wakes you up in the morning and is like, oh yeah, I got to do this. This is happening.
So the reason why I call myself a spiritual teacher, it's because I believe that we all come from the same source, okay? So we may look a little different, okay? Some of us are shorter, some of us are taller, bigger, smaller, darker, lighter, in the eyes of Source, we're all the same. Source doesn't see a difference. Source doesn't see us as separate. He sees us as together. So what wakes me up in the morning is knowing who I am, okay? So I know that I'm part of Source, kind of like I am a little tiny in the ocean, okay? By myself, I have no power. I don't have that, the power of the ocean, let's say. But if I am part of the ocean and I am in the ocean, then I am very powerful. And that's what wakes me up in the morning, wakes me up to know that I am that I can be of service, that I can be Source's hand, that I can be in connection every single day with Source and just be in that place of acceptance and showing me what I am supposed to be doing. That's my burning desire, to serve Source as well as serve all of my brothers and sisters and all of the children that are around me, whether they are 9 years old or 2 years old.
I love that. It's so beautiful. I don't know if you guys can tell this, whoever might be listening live or if you're listening on the recording, but I don't know what it is, but whenever Zulema starts talking, I just my whole body just starts to relax. So I don't know, Zulema, I don't know if you know that you have this effect on people, but at least you have it on me, and I'm like, yeah, baby, yeah, we're all Source. Oh yeah, children. Oh, we're children. Thank you, Jesus. I just want to curl up. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've done so much work with you that it feels so harmonizing to just listen to you, because it just feels like you really do channel that Source energy, and I just adore it. So thank you for doing that.
And I cannot take credit for that. I cannot take credit for that, because if you will be able to tell if I am connected to Source, my words just flow and they just connect with people, and I say the things I'm supposed to be saying, or be connected eye to eye with someone, and that's that's God just being with me and allowing me to be his vessel. When I'm not, when I am in my head or my ego is talking to me saying, how wonderful I am, then I'm not. I'm not that. So far from it. So I just want to make sure that I give the glory to who it belongs to, because he really doesn't belong to me. And I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. No, it's totally fine. You interrupt as much as you want to, baby. It's totally fine. Okay.
Thank you, my dear.
Yes. So what advice would you give to healers either starting out or, either or seasoned or whatever? What kind of advice would you give to them that you might have learned along the way?
One of the things that I have learned the most about lately, actually from the beginning, but lately has been more shown right in front of me to where I can no longer ignore it, has been that I cannot make things happen. I cannot move things to, or people or situations or environments to move as I want them to move. I am supposed to be an observer. I am supposed to be allowing things to come. So, for example, there for a while I wanted to build my my coaching business. I was really trying really hard, and, going out there and putting my name out there and talking to people and telling them about my, what I did and da-da-da-da. And then I realized that I was almost sounding like a salesperson. And not that I have anything against salespeople,
right?
But I'm not in the business of selling. So I am in the business of teaching, and I'm in the business of healing. I am in the business of bringing people to their original connection to source. Okay. So I knew that there was no way that I could continue to do that and be okay with me, because it didn't resonate with my higher self, with my spirit. And then also because people are not drawn to that. They're just not. So it has been unfolded in front of me that every day I just dedicate my day and my life to Source. And I say, Source, show me what I'm supposed to do today. Tell me where I'm supposed to be your hands today. Use me as a vessel. Use my life for good. Use my life for better than what I am using it today, because you can do that. I can't. I only have finite eyes. And I have learned along the way that when it is that I sit in this place of allowing, not that I sit here doing nothing, you know what I mean? Right. But it's a place where I sit but allowing. So I go, let me see this word. Oh, it doesn't? That's okay. No big deal. I don't have any energy attached to it. I'm not attached to the outcome, Wayne Dyer says it so well when he says, when we get to a place where we're really enlightened, it's the place where we have attachment to nothing. We are not attached to things or to outcomes. We just allow them to come. And we're open to everything. In other words, I open my mind to what's going to happen next. And just to give you a quick example of that, yesterday I woke up and I had gone to see this amazing presentation that Gladys Knight did the night before. And her and her husband spoke, and they were just so inspirational. Just so inspirational. I was crying and laughing at the same time, and it was just one of those places where I was just full of the Spirit. So yesterday I woke up and I remember sitting and praying and telling Source, it's like, God, use me today. I'm not doing anything today. I'm not moving. I'm not doing anything unless you tell me, unless you show me what it is that I'm supposed to do. And then you called me. And here we are.
Yes.
So
in that moment, I think
to make anything happen.
That's right.
Go ahead.
It was funny because I had been kind of messing around. Like I was like, I would text you and you would text me back, and then we went and do it, and then I would text you and then you would text me back, and then I would be like, okay, that's not time yet. And then yesterday it was like, I'm done with texting. I am calling.
Right?
And and it was like, and it was divinely inspired, because it was a call her now. And it wasn't words that came into my mind. It was just my fingers went right to your phone number, and then it was just like, yeah, this is happening. So,
mm-hmm. And last
and
night
I think there's a difference. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Last night, I have a practice at night that I go to sleep thanking Source for everything I have. And I start with a list, and, the list goes on, and I usually get about 10 at the most, and then I'm completely out. But those are my last few minutes, and I want to be my last few minutes with God, and telling him how grateful I am for my life and for who I am today and the way my life is and the people that are in my life today. Because every person that's in my life today is a loving individual. And that is probably one of the greatest accomplishments that I have probably done in my whole entire life, is to only have loving people in my life. What a blessing. So as I was thanking God for everything, and I said, and thank you for showing me the way and for having this conversation with Kira today and for allowing me to do this program with her. And it clearly came to me, the voice said, yep, I inspired her to call you at that particular moment. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
It's so funny, like, so my ego wants to struggle with that a little bit and go, I'm awesome. I'm connected to Source. I was listening, but at the same time, my soul just wanted to cry, and be like, "Aw, yay!"
Mm-hmm.
This is so beautiful. I just love it. So I'm like, got tears in my eyes, but at the same time, I'm like, my ego's like, oh yeah.
Right. Ooh, I'm good.
Ooh, I'm good.
I know. That little
Yeah,
ego.
well, I'm still human. I'm still learning. I'm getting there.
As I've been teaching lately, this ego thing that we have, it's like one little tiny ripple in the whole entire ocean. Little tiny, the smallest ripple in the ocean. But the ego thinks the ocean itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it acts that way. And it wants to continue to think, oh, I'm the ocean. And then when we really think about it, if we were to look at the mind, okay, if we had the capacity to look at the mind and we were the capacity to see the ego, we would see that the ego is the smallest part in our mind. Smallest part. Mm-hmm. Which tells us that it's still going to be there because it's got, a grandiose, complex, but we can always go, I see you, ego. Yes, you're there. They're there. My spirit is bigger than that, and I choose to listen to it.
So, I always ask folks about limitations, failures. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in failures. It feels like failure when something happens, but I don't, necessarily buy into that idea. I believe that there are different levels of success. So have you ever experienced, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I know the answer to this question. in a multitude of different forms, because you and I have known each other for years. But have you experienced any limitations that you had to step into your power and step through, and how did you do that when it comes to being a coach, being a spiritual teacher?
I think that the first failure, limitation, call it mistakes, loss, whatever you want to call it, it also comes from the same place, right? I think the first one for me was being able to know who I was. That was my first limitation. I didn't grow up with people telling me that I was a child of God. I didn't grow up people telling me that I was beautiful or that I was powerful. Not that they said you're ugly or you're not powerful, but with their behaviors and the way that I was treated as I was growing up, that I was told you have no voice. When they didn't hear me or listen to me, right, they told me you have no voice, you have no power, okay? You're powerless, okay? From the time that I was very, very young. And as you and I have spoke with each other before, I grew up in a house that I was there was so much anger. There was yelling, screaming, and cussing all the time, and once in a while, there was physical abuse. And there was also, my stepfather that was, a pedophile, and he molested me from the time that I was very, very young. I can't even remember some of those things that happened. So one of my first memories is being frozen with fear when they were going to check my eyes because I was getting headaches all the time. And I was frozen with fear because I was thinking that the doctor was going to be able to see in my eyes, and he was going to be able to see that I was a liar, right? And that he might know that I wasn't clean and that I was, that I was, dirty. And what if I was pregnant? Mind you, I was only like maybe 7, 8 years old, frozen with fear. But that's what I grew up with, okay?
Wow.
So when you want to become, who you were always meant to be, first you have to somehow, right, get through that big hurdle, because that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that we have to get through. It's about knowing that these people were so lost, okay, first of all, bless their little hearts. They were so lost, and they were so away from Source, so away from God, Heavenly Father, Spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, that they could not possibly do things any different than they were. They were just barely breathing, much less teaching a child how to be successful, And I mean successful as in being, knowing who they are, not, earning money.
Right.
And they were so far from that. But there was something that happened with me. When I felt at times that I was broken, that I had all this baggage that brought with me to adulthood, there was something that happened there for me. And I remember being picked up, like literally picked up by invisible hands, okay? And I revisited some of these events with some wonderful therapists. I revisited some of these events, and at every single event that I have gone through with hypnotherapy, and other modes of healing, was that at every moment and in every event, there were some hands that were protecting me. I was in someone's hands the whole entire time. I was never alone. I just couldn't feel it at the time. And I was shown that as an adult. And then it became a change for me that started to believing, could it be possible that I am connected to a God? Could it be possible that I am part of a source that is bigger than all of us together. And when I believed that, when I started to believe and encompass that and make that as my core belief, that's when it happened. That's when the healing started happening. Once I did that, one of the other things that have happened to me has been that I started following teachers, okay, and following, because I really didn't know what I was doing. Which is so, it's just as truthful as I can be.
Well, yeah, of course. We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. And then I discovered that, I don't like that so much. And I don't like that so much. And it was just God showing me that I don't need to follow other teachers, that I don't need to be part of any association, institution, or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just that I only needed Him. I only needed His guidance, His companionship, His acceptance. That's when I realized that my biggest hurdle had been that I wanted other people's attention and I wanted other people's acceptance. And I really didn't need to have it. And that was my biggest limitation there. And once in a while, it will want to creep up.
Yeah.
And I would want someone to like me and accept me. And then I'm gently reminded that, no, that's not where it's at, sweetheart. You don't need that.
Yeah.
And God allowed me to go through that path because He probably said, oh, go ahead, honey. I'm going to let you go down that path. I know you're going to learn many lessons. And when you come back, I'll be waiting here for you.
Yes. And it's so funny because I believe in that too. It's like, God just sitting there waiting on the corner going, okay, when's she going to come around?
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. Zulema, that's a beautiful story. I'm over here crying. Like tears are rolling down my cheeks. Just because I can feel the power in that and how really genuinely beautiful and just it's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing else I can say about it. So, so what are your successes? What have been I think even in what you just said, I think that there's success all over that because, and that's the whole reason why we're talking is turning our trials to grace. In a moment when we get to that part, there's success in everything, but what would you consider your biggest success where you could say, oh yeah, that's something that really changed things for me?
So I think that for the longest time, I was so attached to my victimhood fear. I lived by that, Look what all these people had done to me. Look the way that they should have treated me. Look at what they should have done. And none of it, of course, was ever my fault. Typical victim mantra right there. And for the longest time, I blamed my family for the way I was, which, yes, they were, partially responsible. I blamed my abuser because, yes, he was very, very responsible for the way that some of my life events turned out. And I also blamed my relationships, my personal relationships to the person that I was involved with, my exes, as I call them. They have been they have been great teachers for me. But at the time, I didn't see them as teachers. I used to see them as my abusers. And I continue this pattern of abuse. And I remember sitting in that place and thinking, I really don't like this. You know what I mean? And I had some just dear friends to me that were able to show me, do you really want to be there in this place? You know, it's not really happy. It's not really serving you. It's not really contributing to your happiness. So what I have done is that when I am sitting in front of someone and I am working with them, whether it's in group, whether it's, you know, in a one-on-one coaching session, whether I'm on the phone with them, or whether it is just someone who is, you know, just a friend that wants some, you know, some help. I don't bring myself just myself, okay? I bring myself with all of my trials and all of my, you know, my difficulties and my struggles and everything. I bring it in there because that's who really I am. It encompasses everything that I am. And I am able, I think that my biggest success is to be able to relate to people at a level that perhaps not everyone can do. Because when I tell you I know pain, I know pain. When I tell people I know what it is like to be depressed, I know what it is like to be depressed. When I tell people I know what it is like to be abused, I do. I'm not making it up.
Right.
And when I tell people that you are in the depths of despair and I know what that feels, I know what that feels. I'm not making it up. And I bring it with me. And I have this deep connection with people. And I'm able to connect with them in a very short period of time. And because I'm there with them, I'm in the trenches with them.
Yep.
And I'm going to pull them out. Here, take my hand, and I'm going to take you out. I was telling one of my clients the other day, this person was in a very, very dark place. And I said, okay. I said, we're in a dark room. It's very dark here. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But what I am telling you right now is that I can hold your hand, and we're going to want to walk out of here together. And that's a success. When you can take someone's hand out of that dark room and walk out with them, and they can hold your hand and trust you enough to walk out of this with you. I consider that a success. But I don't consider that my success. I consider that God's success.
Yeah.
I don't know what my brother and my sister need. You taught me that. I don't know what they need, but God does. And He knows 100% of the time. And if I can just plug myself in, I can just plug myself to the source. The source will guide me. And the source will tell me exactly what I'm supposed to say. And I can do that. That's my biggest success.
Oh, my God. That's beautiful. Okay, so, woo, all right. You know, something that you taught me, too, because I do tend to get attached to the outcome for my clients a lot. Even though I know I don't know what my brother or sister needs, I think that when you said to me, is it a God-sized problem or is it a Kira-sized problem? And I think that I'm coming to the realization now that there are no Kira-sized problems. Like everything, you know, like, is it something I can handle versus something that I need to hand over? And I think just from listening to you just now, it's like, wait a minute, they can all be God-sized problems. They can all be given over, you know, and let God to orchestrate that experience so that I can be free, you know, to live exactly in the way that He wants me to, which is going to be totally in happiness. So that's amazing. So let's go into how to turn your trials to grace, which I think that you've just given us multiple examples of exactly what we were going to talk about. And, you know, how do you you help people see that? And I created this title, but I really created it in a specific way because I was like, well, it's how do you turn your trials to grace, not into grace, but to grace. And to me, grace is God. How do you hand it over? So, kind of being me personally, kind of being that person that wants to always manage what I'm experiencing. What advice would you give to either coaches or to individuals to help them turn what they're experiencing to source so that they can feel that freedom?
It's all about timing, Kira. Because, I can hold on to a trial, and I can hold on to it for as long as I want to. Truly. Hold on to it for 1 day. I can hold on to it for 1 month. I can hold on to it for 1 year. It really depends on us. And God is sitting there saying, "Okay, honey, you just let me know when you want me to take it from you. I'll be sitting here waiting for you. When you're done, messing with it and struggling with it and wrestling with it on the ground, you just let me know." And there is a part here that all of us have, okay? And I'm not saying that you and I have it and others don't. There is, God's no respecter of men. He is the source of all that there is. So when we say all, what's left? Nothing. There's nothing left there, okay? So that means that all individuals that are upon the earth, that have been upon the earth, and that will be upon the earth are part of this as well. And they have this light within them, a higher self, a spirit that came directly from Source. We are made of supernal material, most precious than anything. And when we listen to that supernal being, the higher self, not the carnal, weaker parts, not the ego parts that's always thinking that it's grandiose. When we listen to that small voice, when we get quiet, when we get silent, when we sit there and go, what should I do with this, God? What do you want me to do with this? What's my lesson here? That's what I have learned. The sooner I can get to the lesson, the sooner the trial is gone. The sooner I can turn that trial into grace. Because then that means that trial wasn't there just because God wanted to slap me around a couple times. But that trial was there because I needed to learn a lesson. Lately, I have been known to be a little too deep at times. And I know I am because, I analyze things a little too deep sometimes. And I ask questions that are just a little too deep sometimes. And people just look at me like, what? What did you just say? I have no idea how to answer that. But one thing that I've been thinking lately, and I have been pondering, studying, and asking about, is that there's a reason why I'm here upon the earth. There's things I need to learn. There's things I need to teach. There's people that I need to connect to. All of it is part of my being and part of my learning, part of my journey, as I call it. So I wanted to know, how does God know that I am going to make that decision before I make it? How does He know? I want to know how He knows. Okay? Does He read my mind? Perhaps. But even my mind doesn't know sometimes whether I'm going to make that decision or not. So how does He know? Okay? So I have come to this belief by reading and studying different teachers and listening to God's guidance, that there's a purpose for my life here. There are certain things that I need to learn. And my higher self, my spirit, at one time probably went in front of God and said, God, I know me, and I know me good, and I need to learn certain lessons. My biggest lessons are to know who I am, to be humble, and to be obedient. Those are my three biggest lessons, my life lessons, okay, that I will continue to learn for the rest of my life. And I probably said, in order for me to learn this, God, when I get down there, I need this and this and this and this and this and this to happen to me. Because if I don't, I won't learn those lessons. And I want to learn them because you want me to learn them, and because I am you and you are me, and you want the best for me. And God, with his infinite eyes, said, so be it, my child. Go have your experiences. You know how I know that it's true? Have you ever had a deja vu? Yes, and you go, wait a minute, I've been here before. I know what's going to happen next. And it happens. And you go, holy Toledo, what happened there? How did I know that was going to happen? That's how. Because we had a blueprint of our life before we got here. And we're following it. And we're following it for a purpose. There's a plan here for you, for me, and for everyone who's upon this earth. There's a higher, bigger plan that we even imagine. One of them is for us to return to source. But in order for us to return to source, we have to learn. We have to be enlightened and softened.
Yes. Yes. And I think that one of the tools that I use in that context would be, dear God, please correct my vision where I'm believing in this trial, where I'm believing in this lack, or where I'm believing in nobody showing up, so therefore I must not be doing something right, or correct my vision where I believe I'm wrong, or correct my vision where I'm seeing this person as being evil or bad or whatever thing, and help me offer them their innocence or whatever. And there are some people in this world I can do that very, very easily with, and then there's some that I can't, so I'm working on it. But and it's such an interesting thing to experience, because almost immediately when I do that, I feel that presence and I feel relief, and maybe I still my ego is still trying to attack that situation, person, issue, whatever, but I can at least keep the energy separate and say, okay, I can hear you back there. I really understand that that's something that you're believing right now, but I also know that God's got my back and is not going to let me fall. I just have to trust. And until I do trust, I will fall, which I think is such an interesting thing as well. Because I will continue to stay miserable. I will continue to stay in pain. I'll continue to stay in fear. I'll continue to stay in a place of limitation. But the moment I say, "Dear God, please correct my vision where I believe I'm limited," my body just goes, okay. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. I can't be in charge. There's too many big things happening that I would be vastly limiting my life experience if I chose to be in charge of them.
Correct. And as you know, Source doesn't give us precise explanations wrapped in a beautiful present box with a bow on top. Okay?
You're right.
That just doesn't happen. As a human, we want to have control. Okay, our ego is going to be showing up and saying, "I want to have control." But God gives us little by little, line upon line, precept upon precept, answer after answer, and that's only after prayer, just exactly what you said. Give me. give me vision.
Mm-hmm.
Give me what I'm supposed to know. It doesn't happen until we surrender.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so we have about 15 minutes or so left. What I love about this, guys, and if you're listening, I want to tell you how to get in touch with Zulema. If you do want to do some coaching with her, learn about her groups, she does have a meetup. So we're gonna give you some information. But then we'll go into shifting from victimhood to victory. So, Zulema, how can these folks get in touch with you? What is some of your contact information?
So the best way to get in hold of me is through my phone number. I have it with me at all times. It's like, my little life in a box. It's with me at all times. So you can reach me through my phone. You can also reach me through my meetup. You can message me through there if you want to. But the fastest and quickest and more secure way to get a hold of me is through my phone. So you can call me or text me. By text, I am available all the time. By phone, sometimes I'm not because, if I am with a client or doing something, if I'm in front of someone, I can't always answer the phone. I don't know. Do you want me to give my number here or do you want to put it on the... Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it
number,
out there, but go ahead and put it. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Let's do that. So my phone number is 602-487-9204. So we're going to put it out there also on the Facebook page so that you can actually have it for later reference.
Mm-hmm. And what's the name of the meetup group? So they can go out there and because you run free groups and things like that.
Yes. So I have I run 2 free groups a week. Sometimes I don't do the Thursday group because I want to give other people the opportunity to have teaching from some other teachers that are, just as good as I am. But my meetup is called Phoenix Love and Personal Development. Mm-hmm. Phoenix Love and Personal. And, we have about 615 members, and not all of them come to the group, so don't worry about that. But
that would be one heck of a group.
A group, right? But I do have a group Monday evenings from 7 to 9 in Central Phoenix, and there is one group on Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 in Tempe for those ones that live in the East Valley. So come see us, come join us. We have some heck of a time sometimes, and we really do connect a lot. And one thing that it's the pattern in my groups is that people just feel better after they leave the group. They feel connected, they feel accepted, they feel loved, they feel like they can actually do the next step, do what's next, which it's a beautiful thing to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and the groups are really powerful, and I've recommended a number of my clients to go to these groups and go to Zulema's group, and because and to other groups that are very similar to hers. So I just definitely encourage you, if you liked what you've heard here, give her a call. Let her know if she can help you. Look at the groups and just see if this resonates. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's all good. And if you would like to join us on our Facebook group, we are at facebook.com/groups/healershelp. And we are really out there to help healers to become better at what they're doing, to have a place where they can feel safe, they can connect, also to where they can advance themselves, and then also get those sales and marketing tips that are really important. So let's go into, in our last few minutes here, and just talk a little bit about victimhood. And just shifting our mindset from victim to victory. And what's some advice that you would give folks, or help, or insight in that particular vein of healing?
Mm-hmm. So victimhood comes from blaming, okay? We blame others for our, situation, where we are at. And I was telling you yesterday this about that my new thing is I make mini videos of things that I am learning on a daily basis, because I just want to remember them all, because they're they're right there, and I'm like, oh, there's the lesson. And that was beautiful. So there are two seatbelt people, okay? There's seatbelt people that come into a car, and I don't know, they may not be moving as, they might not have much dexterity, or they might be a little large, or maybe they're just not as coordinated as, other people. I don't know. They're just having a hard time putting their seatbelts on. And I'm going
to say, when Zulema says a large person, you got to understand, Zulema is the tiniest person ever. So I have a feeling that you probably think everybody is large, like tall,
yes.
right? Yeah.
To me, okay, so when you seen people that are like over 6 feet, my son is 6'4", right? And I consider him very, very large.
Yes.
And when he gets into a car, it's hard for him to get into a car, because he has to pretty much mold himself into the car. Unlike me, that I just kind of slide in. I'm only 5'2", so yes, I'm very small. So people have a hard time with seatbelts. Have you noticed this? I have noticed that people have hard times with seatbelts. So these people are having a hard time with their seatbelts, and one of them may come and say, "Where's seatbelt?" Well, the seatbelt is not working. Seatbelt is hiding. Why is the seatbelt hiding? Why does it have to be so hard to put the seatbelt on? Why does it have to be so hard? I can't figure it out. Where's seatbelt? I can't find the seatbelt. And they just go on and on and on. And as they talk about how hard it is to put the seatbelt on, their energy has just completely shifted and switched. And it's just in that place of unhappiness from joy, far from peace, okay? Then we have the other seatbelt person that comes in, okay? Same scenario, okay? It comes in and they're laughing, okay? And they're like, oh, I'm having a really hard time with this seatbelt. I can't find the seatbelt. Oh, there it is. But even though I found it, I still can't connect it. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so silly. I can't believe that I'm having a hard time with the seatbelt. Do you see this? And they're laughing. Yeah. And they continue to laugh. And they finally put their seatbelt on, and they continue to laugh. Do you see the difference in the energy between these two people? Okay? And we can be both at the same time, okay? Just know this, that we all are in the same boat. I'm not separating myself from them. The lesson here is that we are always at choice. We always have the choice to either laugh at ourselves, find joy in the journey, go, where's my lesson here? What do I need to learn? Okay? It is so much easier for us to blame than to look at ourselves. Easier to blame than to take responsibility. It's easier to say, why is this seatbelt hiding from me, than to say, boy, I'm sure it's silly that I can't find the seatbelt, isn't it? You see the difference?
Yes. Yes.
Blame keeps wounds open. Only forgiveness heals. Even it is for us to forgive ourselves. Okay? These are gifts that we're given on a daily basis. Sometimes they might be painful, but they're still gifts. We make them into something that they're not. We make them into, I don't want to do that. That's too hard. That's too painful. We put our heels on the ground, and I don't want to do this. Why does this have to be so hard, Lord? God, why are you giving me this trial? We ask. And the answer will come. It's about,
the answer will come whether we like it or not.
Yes. Yeah. What about if we went with grace? you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can actually be in that place of having a choice and say, God, this is hard. This is painful. Help me learn my lesson.
Yeah.
Help me be purified. There's nothing I like more than the scripture in Malachi. And they talk about the refiner's fire, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you know, as I was telling you, I think deep about these things. Like, okay, what does that mean, the refiner's fire, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about the refiner of silver, okay? Silver and gold are one of the most precious materials that we have upon the earth, right? People just like them because they're beautiful and shiny and all of that. But there's a process that comes. The silver just wasn't born beautiful and shiny and like that, or the gold wasn't either. What happens is that when they find the silver has a lot of impurities in it. You get the picture? We have impurities, okay? The refiner puts it in a spoon over the fire, okay? And they leave it in there until the impurities are burnt out. Mm-hmm. And they have to leave it there just the right amount of time, because if they leave it there longer, the silver gets burnt and it's no longer good. It's broken. Can't be used anymore for good, okay? To be a beautiful, shining material. I always think of this as God. He's holding us in His hands over the fire, purifying it. Mm-hmm. And He's taking care of us, making sure that we're never there for very long. He will never allow us to break. He will never allow us to burn. He keeps us there just long enough for us to be purified. And then, if you ask a purifier of silver, how do you know when it's ready? He says, because I can see my face on it. God keeps us in the fire until He sees His countenance in us. That's what it is. You need to see that the trials and tribulations and issues that we have that come along is part of us being purified. And it is for us to learn, mostly to learn how to love.
Yeah.
How to love Source, how to love my brother, my sister, even those ones that have pain in the butt to us. Send them love.
Yeah.
How do we send love to those? We learn to.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was absolutely the most beautiful representation of how all of this works together. And, you know, I am so grateful for you joining us, and I want to invite you to come back so that we can gain more from your wisdom and insight. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I will be honored to come back.
I love you.
So much fun.
I know.
Kira, every time that I am with you, I feel that I am in a higher place. You know, I believe that God has put us together for a reason. I have believed that from the first time that we said, let's do something together. And then all of a sudden this calmness and peace came over my body. And I was like, oh, thank you, God, for that, you know, because you just told me that this was supposed to be. So I just love being with you.
I love being with you too. I was so stoked because I was like, I get to talk to Zulema for an hour today. You know, I mean, I'm like, well, there's other people that are listening also, you know, got to consider the audience. And like, you know, my mind was going out. We have like a minute and a half left. And I'm like, oh gosh, I got to come back into reality and close this down. But please get in touch with Zulema. I'm going to put her number out on Facebook and out on blog post here, podcast post here, and check out the meetup group and check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/healers help. We'd love to have you be a part of our community. I do lots of drawings and fun things every week. So, Zulema, again, thank you so much for being with me. And I'm so grateful for you, honey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am so grateful for this opportunity. And I'm just grateful for this place where I get to go. I mean, I just went to this place where I just connected with Source, and what a beautiful way to start a Saturday.
I know, it's perfect. It's ideal.
Beautiful.
Yes, so thank you everyone for joining us. I love you. I adore you. Good things are happening for you. Good things are coming into your experience today. Let good things, let your light shine. Let those things happen easily and effortlessly. I will be seeing you again, hearing you, talking to you very, very soon.